You have talked to me in the past about our relationship being a catalyst for this sense of living a life also that's deeply centered. So, how does that frame out in your life? I know precisely what that means for me, but living in a deeply centered place, Austin, either what is that for you or what are the benefits of it for you?
Yeah, the center life for me, again, it helps me in a world of increasing distraction, whether that is technology, the 24-hour news and media cycle, social media, the ability for people that we haven't talked to in years to text us or to email us, the instant access that people have to us and the instant access we have to people into information can just lead a life to be deeply distracted and chasing down rabbit holes and dead ends. But so for me, there's a sense of living that centered life is adopting some of those disciplines of being the first person up while it's still dark outside and the rest of the world is sleeping, getting that time when the world is still quiet. Your mind is at the most quiet it will be essentially all day long, because once the day starts, you're essentially in a bit of momentum with that day. And so getting that day started properly and correctly, knowing what it is you will give your attention to, really determines the outset of your day, which leads to the outset of your week, your month, and eventually your decade will be formed by what you center your life around and what you focus your life around.
Yeah.
It, for me, it is so important to say, hey, every day is a building block to the decade ahead of me. And if I stack a bunch of days on top of each other of being unfocused, I can put behind me 6 months of saying, hey, where did that 6 months go? Whereas if I use every day as a building block of focus and of discipline and of the right process, I can look back after a decade and say, oh, I am here because of all of those very early mornings in the dark in which I was choosing to be centered and disciplined and focused about what I bring to my organization, to my family, to my relationships, to my friendships that nobody else can bring.
Mm.
So for me, it is about that process of getting up early, being focused and disciplined is about shaping the kind of life I want into my 40s, 50s, 60s, etc.
There's some new language that Jordan Peterson has offered to this conversation, and he describes it as today making a down payment on behalf of future Austin,
That's right.
which sounds precisely with what you're describing there.
Yeah, there is a sense of that, of what am I going to do today that's going to help shape and form the person that I want to be tomorrow. And for me, one of the reasons I'm so thankful for my dad and so thankful for the coaches that I select to be in my life is I can see people and say, man, I want that life. I want that marriage. I want that professional capacity. I want those kinds of friendships, and not in a jealous, envious, entitled way. But I can see these marriages, these friendships, these lives, and saying, hey, what are the disciplines and the practices that these folks have adopted that has shaped the world they've now inherited? And a lot of them, my dad, yourself, other mentors, it is, hey, how early are you up in the morning? How focused are you on what you do? Who are the people that you are constantly surrounding yourself with? And there are these common threads of focus, clarity, discipline, working hard, a great work ethic. And I say, man, if I want that kind of life in the future, I've got to begin to craft and develop that life even right now. And
Yeah.
so, Roger, time with you helps me to get an insight into your process to say, man, if I want a life like Roger's, a life of that kind of depth, that kind of holistic life where you see that things are good in the house and in the organization, I've got to become the kind of person that implements those practices now so I can have that life later.